You're listening to the Cashology Podcast by FNBO, a place dedicated to helping you become more financially savvy every day. It's a little like school, but your only homework is living your best financial life. I'm your host, Justin, and class is now in session. Welcome to the Cashology Podcast, where we delve into the personal finance stories that matter. Today, we're joined by the inspiring Elyse Lyons, better known as the queen of the No Spend Month, the one and only Savvy Sagittarius. She joins us to discuss her debt journey and what we can learn and apply to our own journeys. Elyse, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, let's start here. Can you tell those who might be unfamiliar with you just a little bit about yourself?
My name's Elyse. I run the Savvy Sagittarius, which is Instagram, TikTok, a website kind of sharing my own personal journey with learning money. I'm a single mom to a toddler, and I have a giant chocolate lab / pit bull. And so we just have a lot of fun and living in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, Lincoln, Nebraska. Wonderful. Okay. And yeah, kid, dog, I'm sure they keep you very busy
Yes.
in the best of ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. So would you mind sharing your personal debt story with us?
Yeah. So I had just turned 22 and I needed a new to me vehicle. I had to have my dad co-sign for me because I had no credit. And at the same time that I was given a car loan, I was also given a credit card to help build my credit up. So I ended up putting Christmas on that credit card with the intention of paying it off that month. And then that week in between Christmas and New Year's, I got my student loan bill in the mail at the same time. And it was like these three separate things just spiraled me into how did I go from really having no debt other than my student loans to I added it up and it was $34,000 worth of student loans, car payment, credit card. And so I kind of dove in, started reading about personal finance, reading other people on their journeys. And I ended up paying off $36,500 in debt in a little over 2 years of full-time military, full-time bartending, and any side hustle that I could get money from. And that was kind of how I started sharing my own journey online.
Oh, very cool. Man, 36. That's quite a bit. And I can kind of relate just with my own student debt. So
Yes.
Has there been any specific turning point that kind of shifted your repayment approach?
I kind of realized that if I only made the minimum payments on my student loans, I would have been paying on them for 12 to 13 years. And that was without the interest being added. And I kind of had that moment where I was I don't want to be stuck. I was full-time military and I was I don't want to be tied to a job if I find something that I love more. And I knew that having those debt payments would kind of keep me reliant on that paycheck. So that was a big part of it. And I really was I want more than this, and got really serious about it.
Yeah, I remember when I went through college, nobody ever told you how student loans work.
Yes.
And it was hey, you're getting ready to graduate. And it was maybe the week before graduation, financial aid came, sat us down. Here's what everything is going to look like. And I was what did I sign my name to for these past 4 years, not knowing how any of this worked? It's just crazy how you're not really taught a lot of that stuff. You kind of just, it just falls in your lap.
And I think that with financial literacy and financial education, it's not taught in a way that that feels relevant.
100%.
So even if they are hey, you're going to have to repay this. Hey, it's going to you're going to be paying on these after you graduate. No one really it does in an 18-year-old, 19-year-old mind. They're that's future me problem. They can't even see.
I say that all the time.
They can't even see past 18, 19. And so when we're talking about financial education and financial literacy, we have to make it a now conversation, not necessarily a 4 years down the road. What is this going to look like?
So kind of with those loans, have there been any unexpected challenges or setbacks? And, if so, how have you pivoted just to overcome them?
Oh, absolutely. So many setbacks along the way. During my debt-free journey, I I moved twice. I lost my full-time military job because I was a civilian military. And then I got out of the military and then I paid off all of that debt. I bought a house. I found out I was pregnant. I went back into some debt because I didn't prioritize that emergency fund right after paying off debt. And so I will be debt free again by the end of 2024.
Oh, congrats.
Ready for it.
Yeah. So what strategies have you found to be the most impactful, and how can others apply these in their own lives?
I think a lot of people think that like being debt free is impossible because they don't even know where to start.
Sure.
Many people are like maybe throwing extra money towards all of their debts, and it feels like you're not making any progress. I personally really like the debt snowball because it helps you kind of tackle one debt at a time. The debt snowball is essentially like listing out all of your debts from smallest to biggest. And so when you're starting, you put everything towards that smallest debt. You pay that one off. Everything that you're putting towards that smallest debt goes to the next debt. So instead of spreading $100 extra out towards all of the debts, you are really focusing on that one until it's gone. And a lot of people will say that this doesn't make like the most like mathematical sense, because if you do the math, you're going to end up paying more interest using the debt snowball. But really one of the things that I talk about the most on my page is that money is very rarely actually mathematical. Our emotions, our habits, our psychology, all of these things, society and culture, all of these things I think play so much more impact on our money than math. Because if math was the true biggest thing, like we wouldn't be in debt.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I really also appreciate the debt snowball method, just because, like you're saying, it's the short-term like wins of like, one is paid off.
I can
now
do
instead
this.
of 10, now it's 9. And it's that you get to see the progress happening, I think, like a lot sooner. So
yeah, I think we all kind of have an idea of like what we should be doing. Like we should have an emergency fund. We should be budgeting. We should be paying down debt. But like I said, like our habits, our emotions, our psychology, like that culture and society, like I think that's the biggest things that are like kind of standing in our way of the like should do.
100%. So let's do like a small shift and let's talk a little bit about budgeting. What role has budgeting played in your journey, and what budgeting techniques do you recommend for others?
Budgeting is the biggest part of this to me, and creating a realistic budget, because I think a lot of people, when they sit down to budget, they're like, yes, this is how much I make. This is my expenses. Cool. I should have $600 left over, but I don't. So where's that $600 going? And so one of the things that I think is the most important is being really real with your spending habits. So I always challenge people to download their last 30 days of spending. Like if you have a First National Bank of Omaha bank account, go into that bank account, download those transactions and add up those categories and figure out where your money is actually going. Because sometimes it's those, $10 here, $10 there. And then the biggest thing that I kind of teach is like, if you're getting lunch at work 3 days a week, spending $20 each time, that's $240 a month. And it might not make you a millionaire overnight, but it could be a really great date night. It could be a little weekend vacation or like staycation. If you add it up all year, it could be an all-inclusive resort. Or you can continue to get lunch if that's better for your mental health, if it's better for your work stress, if you use that as like quality time with your coworkers. The hardest part of personal finance is really like you have to decide which habits you want and then which habits you would rather cut out for some of those bigger things.
Eating out 3 times a week when you're at work, I feel personally called out, but like, oh man, that's me. So I'm curious, I'll share mine. What is your like most difficult thing to stay like on budget? And so like for me, it's eating out. Like I love food so much. And so new restaurant, somebody social media post of, oh, we got these crazy burritos. Absolutely. I'm like, oh, we're doing that. Like meal prepping is no longer a thing this week.
I love it. I am the same. And I've kind of created a few like rules around eating out. So I don't let myself eat out alone. So it has to be like a
Okay.
quality time with friends experience.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or my other rule is that I try really hard not to get takeout that I could cook cheaper or better at home.
Okay.
So like you will not find me ordering pasta for like a $20 bowl of pasta from a restaurant that I could make for $10 for the whole family.
Totally. That's usually my philosophy as well. If I can make it at home, why am I eating
Yes.
it?
So I will
Yeah.
get sushi. I will get like a really good burger. There's like a few things that I'm like, these are my takeout options. Korean barbecue has been my latest
Got
takeout
it. I
guilty
love that.
pleasure.
Yeah, Indian food for us is, if it's, I love
Oh
it.
my God, yes.
Okay, so let's kind of like come back to budgeting a little bit. So what are some common misconceptions around debt?
I think that there's this like idea that like all debt is bad, or like I only have to pay the minimums and like it's not going to hurt anyone as long as I'm paying the minimum. I think a lot of those like conversations around debt lead to a lot of shame. I think a lot of people who have debt already kind of feel that shame about it, or like I'm the only one. But I think that most people, statistically, most people have debt. I think the statistic I read the other day was like 71% of people can't cover a $400 emergency without adding to their debt. The way I want to talk about it is you can absolutely just pay the minimums if that's where you're at. However, I think that these are the things that are often keeping people from living that life that they want to live. If you pay down debt and create a little bit more wiggle room in your budget, that may allow you to travel more. Say you have $500 in minimum payments right now, you pay off that debt, you have $500 extra dollars in your budget. That might be traveling, that might be taking a pay cut for a job that you like more. You have more freedom and flexibility in your monthly expenses when you're not paying minimum payments.
Totally. And I think, it's kind of like pages like yours, influencers kind of like yourself that kind of normalize this idea of debt, and like kind of like what you were saying of I'm all alone. And because I feel like a lot when I go on social media of people living like these crazy lives, and I'm like, that's not real though.
That's funded by a
Yeah,
credit
like
card.
that's not real, or that's like a one-time vacation. That's not everyday life. So
Yeah. And I think just having that, I'm seeing a lot more with this like loud budgeting trend of like, this is how much I'm paying for things, and this is how much this vacation costs. And I feel like I've seen a lot more content of like breaking down, like, this is how I paid for this part of the trip, but like, maybe I cut back. I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the hotel room, so I wasn't spending an outrageous amount of money on food while we were out, or
absolutely, the travel
just
hacks.
these little hacks. Yeah. Or like the travel hacking credit cards. I've seen so many people talking about how like they paid nothing for this trip because of the way that they use their credit cards in a responsible manner.
So are there any specific tools, books, websites, anything like that that have been crucial in your debt management journey?
The very first book that I read was A Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. And it was the one book that like completely changed my mindset around like what was possible with money. The statistic at the time that the book was published was that 80% of millionaires are self-made first generation millionaires.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of them, they kind of followed their habits, followed what they did. And a lot of them were 9 to 5. They invested early, all the time, consistent. It was that consistent investing rather than this, like, I got rich quick. I got really lucky with this one thing. They kind of break down that myth that like, it's not possible if you like aren't from a family of wealth.
Sure.
But and then the debt-free community on Instagram, if you search like hashtag debt-free community, that was huge. And sharing kind of becoming a part of the debt-free community on Instagram, and sharing my own journey at the Savvy Sagittarius I created a lot of resources that I couldn't find. I have a budget workbook and some other stuff that really helped me in creating it, break down how I was doing things.
So for most of us, this isn't a quick journey. Do you have any advice on staying motivated or maintaining momentum?
This changing your money habits is really a lifelong journey. I think changing that mindset of like, once I'm debt free, it'll all be easier, because then the next goal is staying out of debt. And kind of like I said, like, I got out of debt quick. I paid it all off in 2 years, and then I didn't prioritize that emergency fund, didn't prioritize some other things, and was back in debt. And so I think changing that mindset from like, it's just a quick journey, it's just a sprint, to like, I'm changing my money habits for the foreseeable future, for a lifelong lifestyle change, and finding a lot of joy in little things that don't cost you money along the way. I think that's a huge part. And celebrating milestones, finding friends and community that like are also along this journey. Because when you're alone, it can be really lonely.
Yeah.
And then just recognizing when you do need to let off the gas a little bit and take care of yourself, finding those free things that bring you joy. So you're not like completely in that burnout stage, and just giving yourself grace along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no sense of, I think what you said, and then what you said earlier, is kind of prioritizing your mental health, to be able to stay disciplined and kind of follow along. Yeah. So, everything so far, a lot of this can be a lot to take in. To simplify things for people who are new to this, what would you say are some key takeaways that listeners can implement?
I think really finding your reason why. So looking at that bigger picture of like, what do you want on the other side of debt free, and why are you doing this? So like, maybe you want to take a pay cut at a job you don't, or for a job you love, because you're right now at a job you don't love, or, finding those things that like, I'm doing this for this reason, and getting a budget that is realistic to what you want to spend money on, and kind of making those decisions, like do I get lunch or do I go on a vacation? Can I do both? How do I do both? Or how do I find that balance of doing, like, maybe I cut back on takeout to one time a week so I can, balance it out in the budget, but figuring out what is the most important to you, I guess, and budgeting for those things.
Alrighty, last question. What are some immediate steps listeners can take to start making a positive change in their financial lives as soon as they finish this podcast?
Back to that last 30 days of income, go into your FNBO bank account, download your transactions, categorize them by what you spent that money on, add them up, and really like figure out where your money went for the last 30 days. And I think that can set you up for creating a realistic budget, figuring out what you want to spend money on.
Well, thank you so much, Elyse, for spending some time with us and telling us about your journey. Before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to tell the audience about? Any upcoming projects, where they can find you online?
I share all of my own money journey at the Savvy Sagittarius on TikTok and Instagram. I just released a course called How to Actually Stick to Your Budget, and it kind of dives into the psychology of money more so, kind of those habits and systems and different things. There's a whole nerdy section of like how our brain actually processes money, because I have my degree in psychology. And so it's pretty nerdy, but it gives you a really good overview of how to actually stick to your budget.
Well, wonderful. Well, if listeners are like me, we love a good nerdy section. So yeah, thank you.
Me too.
Yes. Thank you again, Elyse, for joining us. For more resources, check out fnbo.com or subscribe to us on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. Consider giving us a rating or a review, as they help us get the word out. And remember, our discussions are designed to inform and inspire. For personalized advice, we always recommend consulting a financial professional. Until next time, keep on making smart financial choices, and thanks for listening to the Cashology Podcast. To connect with Savvy Sagittarius and dive deeper into her financial wellness insights, follow her on Instagram and TikTok at the Savvy Sagittarius. First National Bank of Omaha is a member FDIC and equal housing lender. Podcasts provided by the bank are for informational purposes only and not intended to offer specific advice. It's crucial to consult a financial professional for personalized guidance when making decisions about your financial situation. Deposit products offered by the bank are FDIC insured for added security. However, investment products offered are not FDIC insured, not deposits or obligations of the bank, not insured by any federal government agency, not guaranteed by the bank, and may lose value over time. Lastly, please note that the Cashology Podcast is copyrighted by First National Bank of Omaha.